Greetings, friends, and welcome to Modern Gnostic. My name is Brian Stanford. I'm coming at you from Asheville, North Carolina. It's been a while since I've made a video. I had to look back at my podcasting app to see how long it's been since a video or podcast has been recorded. And from what I can tell, it's been since February. So we're in September now, so quite a few months. And over the last few months, I've been feeling a real pull to get back to making videos, back to recording. Lots changed in my life since the last video. I've moved to a different part of Asheville. You can see the lovely background of the trees, and it's a beautiful fall day here. But a lot's changed in the world. The last time I recorded, I was doing a reading of Stefan Heller's book, Freedom, Alchemy for a Voluntary Society. And it's my intention to pick that up again, as well as making commentary and delving more into our subject of esoteric patriotism. And I feel that now more than ever, there's a burning need for this. It's been a struggle to think about making videos and podcasts, as I feel that the political and cultural climate here in the United States is going off the rails. It's becoming more and more dangerous to speak openly with ideas and philosophy that counters the dominant narrative of the cathedral, of the state, of the regime. More and more people are losing accounts, losing jobs, facing social ostracism, problems with their families. It's rapidly becoming a dangerous time in the United States. But along with that, I think comes a responsibility to act and to do something. And it's hard to know what to do. It's hard to know what role to play in things. My focus for most of my life has been one of spiritual liberation and freedom, and I think ultimately the problems that we're facing in our world right now have spiritual solutions. And one of those, maybe the root solution to that is spiritual freedom and liberation. At the same time, things are accelerating so fastly, is that a word? So quickly that you need to do more than just be meditating and praying at home. That has to be the root and the foundation from which you gain your strength. But we need to do things in the world. And like most of you, I probably, I struggle with what that is. We have this amazing medium of social media that's largely used to brainwash and divide people, to fuel and feed fear and anger and division. And over the last few months, I've had a lot of people counsel me to stay away from social media, to be careful about what I post, to not post divisive things. I've written things or posted things that I've had family members reach out and ask if I was doing okay, and was I becoming radicalized? And I am becoming radicalized. I think most thinking people are becoming radicalized. Most people who are awake are becoming radicalized. And I struggled about social media, and I struggled with the idea of making podcasts and making videos, because what are the consequences going to be? And I don't think it's silly to worry about those consequences. But after a lot of thought and meditation and prayer about it, I've come to the conclusion that we live in very exciting times, in the sense that we all have these computers and phones, and we have this way to get our thoughts out to potentially billions of people. And it's right there at our fingertips. And something that seems as silly and trivial as a Facebook post or a tweet can really have an influence in the world. I think we can see that now with the way that things like Twitter and Facebook drive the political conversation and drive the direction of the culture. and that can be used for good or for evil. From the sense of modern Gnosticism, it can be used for putting people to sleep or waking people up. The way that I think about it in my mind is that we have these levers that we can pull. Each of us have a different amount of levers. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a powerful job. I don't have a lot of levers that I can pull that way, but I do have access to the internet, and I can post videos for now on YouTube, and I can post my podcast, and I can write, and I can think, and I can share memes, and I can express ideas. And these are the levers that I can pull. And I think that it's important to pull those levers. So I've decided to come back to making videos and making podcasts. And if you've ever done anything like this or thought about doing it, it's really easy to it's easy for me to kind of talk myself out of it. How many people listen to my podcast? How many people watch my videos? In comparison to a lot of people, hardly anyone. But I don't think it matters. It's almost cliche to say, if you touch one person, you've made a difference. But it's cliche because it's true. And one of the things I realized over the last few months is that, every now and then I would log into social media and I'd have a message on there from someone I'd never met, or someone that I just know via social media, who'd watched a video or read a post or seen a meme or heard the podcast or heard an interview that I've done somewhere or something like that, and reached out and said that they were glad that I was doing this and that it was making a difference. And so I'm trying to set aside my self-doubt and fear, and to press forward and start making videos again, start making content again, and trying to get the idea of esoteric patriotism and liberation and awakening out there. As always on the Modern Gnostic Show, you've got to have the tasty beverage. As a complete aside, one of the things that's changed hugely for me since February is I've drastically cut down on the amount of coffee that I drink, and I've really gotten into drinking tea, which I like to joke, but I'm only half joking, that I was ideologically against tea for a long time because I thought tea is un-American. You need to drink coffee like an American. But I really love my tea now, so I've got my little mason jar, because we're here in the Appalachian Mountains, so we drink out of mason jars. I got my mason jar of chai tea mixed with Egyptian licorice tea. It's a beautiful fall combination. So one of the things that's really changed since February is the regime, the cathedral, the ruling paradigm. There's all these words you can use to describe it. The archonic forces in the world have just gone full speed ahead with the techno-medical tyranny that they've been unleashing for years and years and years, but they've used COVID-19 as a way to smash the accelerator on that. And the impending, it looks like, vaccine mandates coming down from our bloated and tyrannical executive branch, that seems to be imminent. Here in the town that I live in, there's already businesses that will not serve people who don't have proof of vaccination. You're required to wear masks in buildings. All of this kind of stuff, which, after looking and researching and thinking and talking and listening and delving into this for the last year, I feel safe and confident to say has nothing to do with science, has nothing to do with medicine, has nothing to do with keeping people healthy, and has everything to do with control and tyranny and totalitarianism and division. It's very, very troubling to watch a White House press conference or a analysis show on mainstream media and to see how they are consciously attempting to turn people against the unvaccinated and make them out to be the scapegoat and bad people in society, and to they are rapidly creating a two-tiered, almost a medical apartheid state. You've probably seen the videos or seen the comments of doctors saying that they should be allowed to refuse the treatment of unvaccinated people in hospitals, that we should keep them off of ICU beds. Just really disgusting and horrible things like this, or excluding people from being able to go into a restaurant, or to go see a movie, or to fly on an airplane, or to have a job, because of decisions they've made about whether or not they want to take these vaccines. And I don't care if you've taken the vaccine or if you've not taken the vaccine. I don't think it's anybody's business. I think these are private decisions, and they've always been private decisions, and they always should be private decisions. And I feel convicted in my spirit that this is a very dark and evil thing. I think evil is not a hyperbolic word to use in relation to this. Look at what's going on in Australia, and watch some of the images coming out of Australia. Read about what's coming out of Australia. Take that into your prayer and meditation, and see what kind of force you think is at work in the world. Take away some of the words, put in place of the word unvaccinated, say black person. We don't let black people come in this restaurant. We don't let black people fly on an airplane. We don't let Jews shop here. You have to prove that you're not white to be able to come into this business. You change the words around and you immediately see what it is. From the perspective of esoteric patriotism, this is, it's hard to think of something that runs more counter to the spirit of the Western spiritual tradition, the spirit of the Western esoteric tradition of Rosicrucian Christianity, Hermeticism, esoteric Masonry, esoteric Christianity, things like this. Our spiritual tradition, the tradition, the foundations in which our experiment in Republican government was ultimately founded. It's hard to think of something that runs so strongly counter to that. And over the next months, as long as this podcast lasts and I'm able to continue to post videos and post podcasts, we're going to dive into, talk about that, look at Stefan Heller's book, other books, other ideas to discuss this. But the message that I want to get across in this video today, and it's weird to be back on camera. It's weird to be recording again. I don't have a script in front of me right now. I woke up this morning, and after morning prayer, wrote in my journal, today I go back to podcasting. And I just knew I had to sit down and hit record and make something. So that's what I'm doing. And the idea that I want to get across today is that this is a spiritual battle. We're in the midst of it. And as esoterically minded people, as modern Gnostics, as people following in the Western esoteric tradition and trying to make sure that that exists in the future, and make sure that a place like the United States, a place that's founded on the ideals of the Western esoteric tradition, these things that we've talked about in previous videos, that all men are created equal, and that includes, we say men as a stand-in for humans. All human beings are created equal. We all are imbued with that divine spark that is our true nature, and we shouldn't be allowing these tyrants to divide us, to turn us against each other, and it just bears saying, if you are sitting at home soaked in fear about COVID, this is not the way to live. Fear is not the program on which your spirit and your soul are meant to run. Investigate the science about COVID-19. unless you're a very old person, or unless you're a person with a lot of pre-existing health conditions, even if you get COVID, your chances are statistically you're going to be okay. Whether you're vaccinated, whether you're not vaccinated. You can't keep living in fear of this. We can't keep living in fear of this. We can't be putting masks on our children. We can't be raising our children in this toxic ocean of fear. We can't allow these businesses and corporations to say they're not going to let our fellow citizens come in to their businesses. We can't let that happen. Sure, private businesses in theory can make the decisions that they want to make, but we don't allow them to discriminate based on race. We don't allow them to discriminate based on other medical conditions. We shouldn't allow them to discriminate on this one. And if you own a business that's doing this, people are going to remember. The people who are resisting this, who are standing up to this, are going to remember. I saw some very inspiring images. I think it was out of anti-vaccine passport protests in Spain, and there were people coming out to the protest because I think it was Spain. I could be wrong. I think it was Spain. They're trying to implement one of these disgusting, tyrannical vaccine passport systems, and even the vaccinated people are out protesting against this, and they're burning their vaccine cards. There's these images if God knows if they're still on YouTube, you can search and see. They're burning their vaccine cards so that their vaccine cards cannot be the basis on which these demonic passports are made. And that was so inspiring to me. And it occurred to me, Spain's a country that's experienced fascism. There's people still alive in Spain who lived under fascism. They have that memory. It's there. It's in them. They know. And people knew to come out in solidarity and to stand against this. And the vaccinated people should be doing that. You should stand with your citizens who have chosen not to be vaccinated, and don't let this medical techno-tyranny come in your name. Refuse it. Take another sip. There's a great YouTube channel called Academy of Ideas. I highly recommend it. They recently had a video, I think it was called something like How to Resist a Sick Society. It had a really powerful quote from Alexander Solzhenitsyn writing in the Gulag Archipelago. And what he was saying was that one of the things that he regretted when he was sitting in the Soviet prisons was that they didn't resist soon enough. They waited too long to resist. And I think that we often think that there's going to, we think about these things, that there's going to be like this one big event, where the dictator or the tyrant comes out and he slams his fist down on the pedestal and he says, all your rights are ended, and you're all slaves of the state now, and it's over. And that one big event will happen and everyone will rise up and fight. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Look at history. Look how these things are implemented. It's step by step by step by step. It's always a little step. It's always that thing that you're like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it right now because it's just, it's just easier to do it. Every time you do that, you move the line a little bit further and further and further. And before you know it, you wake up and your entire society has been transformed, and you don't live in a free country anymore. You don't have a free culture. You're not a free person in that way that you used to be. And I'm convinced that is happening right now. The other analogy that's, again, it gets used so much, but it's because it's such a vivid picture, is that, story of the boiling the frog, right? I'm sure you've heard it. If you immediately take the frog and drop him in the boiling water, he'll leap out, because the water's so hot. But if you put the frog in some lukewarm water and just slowly dial the heat up, the frog stays in there till he boils. And I think we're in that situation right now, and people are starting to wake up and realize that the water's getting hot, and that we need to do something about it. And I was listening to Alex Jones the other day, and I know people will hear me say that and immediately dismiss anything I have said ever before or anything I'll ever say again. And I hesitate to say it, but I'm not going to hesitate to say it anymore, because yeah, there's a lot of ways in which Alex is crazy. You know, I think Joe Rogan described him as he's like a Maserati engine stuck in a Volkswagen Beetle. But Alex Jones gets a lot of shit right. He just does. You know, he said the other day, all of us can do something to stand up. All of us can make a YouTube video. All of us can make a podcast. Doesn't matter how many people watch, listen, one person will hear. You know, you think about during the American Revolution or other uprisings that have happened before now, how valuable it would be to have a printing press, and you can just, you know, picture in your mind the people sitting there all night typesetting and, you know, spending the money to get the paper and rolling it out and gathering the things and distributing the flyers or the newspaper or the broadsheet or whatever it is. We all have that ability to do now. And I know it's hard to speak up. It's scary to speak up. I experience the same thing. I think everybody does. But this is what God wants us to do. You know, this is what we're called to be heroic. It's the, you know, the archetypal image in the Western tradition of the man as the knight or the woman as the shield maiden. These are the roles that we're supposed to play. We're supposed to fight for the innocent. We're supposed to fight for the oppressed. And we're not supposed to allow our culture and our country to fall. And that's what's happening. So this has nothing to do about Democrats or Republicans. It has nothing to do about who you did or didn't vote for. This is so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger. It's a spiritual battle. All those things are important. Voting is important. Being involved in your community is important. All those things are important. But the thrust of it, the real battle that's going on, transcends these bodies. And one of the things that I hope to talk about in the coming months is spiritual philosophers. Rudolf Steiner comes to mind, who talked about these battles between good and evil that are taking place on the human realm, and the ways in which science and technology and medicine will be used in those battles, either by the forces of light or the forces of darkness. And I think right now we are facing the rise of the forces of darkness. But we're not alone. You're not alone. It's easy to feel separated and alone in this because so many people are being swept up in it. But there's a lot of people that are just afraid to say anything. And I found in my job, I found in my community, the places that I hang out and people I meet, I don't avoid talking about these things. I try to steer every conversation in this direction because it's really the only important thing going on, ultimately. You have kids, you have a family. You don't want them growing up in the world that these totalitarians are trying to build. You have a job that you're really concerned about. Your job's not going to matter if this totalitarian state locks down and gets control. Everything will change, you know. And more than that, even if it all just keeps trucking like it's trucking now, your spirit, your soul is meant to be a knight or a shield maiden for the light. And so I'm back. Modern Gnostic is back. I'm going to be trying to put out a video or a podcast once a week. It'll probably drop out on Fridays. It depends on how good I am on getting everything onto the different platforms. I realized today, I was like, crap, I don't even remember how to take the audio from the YouTube to put on my Anchor to be able to put it out on the podcast. So, you know, hopefully I get this up today. But, you know, this is my effort at doing something. This is my effort at taking my own advice and just hitting record, sending out a message, trying to do something to be a fighter for the light. And as always, at the end of these, reach out to me. If you want to talk about this stuff, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I kept my Twitter pretty dark. But I think I'm going to make that publicly searchable and start putting things out there as well, because we need to pull as many levers as we can. So please feel free to reach out, comment in the comments sections. And if you don't make videos and you don't make podcasts, and you're not comfortable talking about this stuff out in your community, at your job, all that kind of thing, what you can do is you can share these information. You can share my videos. You can share other videos. You know, if you're scared about your social media account, set up a anonymous account and get this information out there. I guarantee you it will reach and touch somebody, and that will make a difference. So I just want to close by saying we should all be praying for each other as well. There's a lot of power in prayer, man. There's a lot of power in prayer. And, you know, pray to God every morning. Pray to God when you go to bed. Pray to God before you eat. Give thanks. Confess your sins. Realize where you fall short and dedicate your life each day to being that knight or shield maiden for the forces of light. It's our destiny. It's our heritage. It's what we're supposed to do. So until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. I look forward to seeing and meeting some of you in the social media world. And please stay tuned for more.